I'm here to tell you that the feelings you feel come from what you focus on. So what you have is habitual focuses, and those focuses come from habitual questions. In other words, if you feel certain ways on an ongoing basis, it's because you're asking certain questions on an ongoing basis. It might be useful for you to discover what those are. I'll give you some samples. Questions that people ask themselves on a regular basis that make them feel lousy. Question number one is, why does this always happen to me? I want you to notice, in that question is something we call a presupposition. A presupposition means you are presupposing in the question that things already happened to you. That may not be true, but as long as you ask questions that way, your brain will make up an answer for you. Here, I'll give you a good example. After the 1988 Republican National Convention, when George Bush selected Dan Quayle as his running mate, CNN ran a public opinion poll where you called a 900 number and vote yes or no to the answer to a question. But here is the question that blew my mind. Question was, does it bother you that Dan Quayle used his family's influence to stay out of Vietnam and to get in the National Guard? Now I'm paraphrasing just slightly, but that's what they said. Now tell me, what's wrong with this picture? The challenge is, they presuppose that he actually did it. They said, does it bother you? So your brain stops evaluating whether he actually did it or not and focuses on whether it bothers you or not. Does this happen every day with you? Do you ask questions that presuppose that you've got a limited level of intelligence or skill or ability and therefore get lousy answers in your brain? Listen, if you ask yourself questions like, why am I so fat? That question guarantees you're going to stay fat. You know why? Because you can go, why am I so fat? Your brain will go, okay, let me figure out some reasons. Whammo, here's why you're fat. Because you eat continuously and you have no control. Your brain goes, oh God, I don't have any control. Then you feel useless and you feel like you're disempowered. What would be a better question to ask yourself than, why am I so fat? How about this one? How can I become more thin right now? Or, what could I do today to start myself on the road to becoming more thin? And what do I need to do consistently to create the long-term results of health that I want? If you ask a better quality question, you will get a better quality answer. Or I'll give you a step beyond that. If you ask a question like, how can I become more thin now? You'll get an answer. But what if you ask a question like, how can I become more thin now and enjoy the process? Ah, magical. When you ask that question, what happens now is you literally come up with not only an answer of how to lose weight, but also how to enjoy it. And since your brain likes pleasure, there's a much better chance you're going to follow through. Am I making any sense to you? I'm here to tell you that the quality of your life comes down to the quality of the questions you ask yourself on a daily basis. So if you're asking questions like, well, how come I can't ever learn anything? Just listen to that question. Or why can't I ever learn anything? That's even worse. Why questions tend to be what I call endless loop questions. Like, why did this happen to me? See, your brain probably can never come up with a definitive answer. It'll come up with all kinds of reasons, but you'll keep going into a loop. Now, I discovered the power of questions in my own life because at one time in my life, I was really, really angry. And I knew how to change my physiology and my movement to make myself feel better, but I didn't want to. You ever been in that state? Like somebody said to me, well, Tony, just change your physiology. I said, I don't want to. All right, I was upset. But the reason I was upset is what I was focusing on. I was focusing on somebody who had taken a bunch of money from my company and embezzled it. And I got pretty upset, to say the least. And I was walking around in a frenzy going, God, how could he do this? How could he have the audacity to do this? I may have even had an expletive or two. Who knows? The point is that by asking those questions, I was whipping myself into a frenzy. How could he possibly do this? Why would he do this situation to me? Well, guess what? You're never going to get an answer to that. All it does is whip you into more and more of a frenzy. Can you hear it? So finally, I said, okay, doing this is leading to more and more pain. It isn't making my life any better. I better ask myself a more empowering question. So I thought, what's something that's important to me? My answer is, I love to learn. I already shared that with you. So I said, okay, what can I learn from this? Well, guess what? My brain likes learning, so it was willing to focus on that question. And you know what? Out of that question of what can I learn from this, over the next 3 months, I literally developed a whole new level of understanding about what makes human beings do what they do. I developed literally a whole new technology, which I call Destiny Technologies. And I now do a whole seminar called Your Date with Destiny, with just 65 people at the castle in my home. And where we help people literally design their life so they are literally pulled forward in the direction they want their life to be, rather than having all this self-sabotage and challenges that come up for people. the most incredible program I do. It all came out of me taking a horrible situation and asking a better question. What can I learn from this? What can I get out of this that would enhance my life and other people's as well? How can I use this situation to create much more power in my ability to help people and help myself? Asking these questions allowed me to search my brain's data banks and create tremendous power out of that situation.